Hello everybody, welcome to Paula's Retro Kitchen 1960s edition. First of all, check out the dress and the apron. We went all out for this one. I even dug out some pearls to wear for you. All right, today we're going to have such a good time. You don't want to miss a minute. We are making two recipes from the early 1960s, and we are going to present two songs from the 1960s, courtesy of Mr. Dale McKenzie. You always want to hear him sing. You're going to hear him sing today. All right, first up for our main course, we're going to pull out this vintage Better Homes and Gardens cookbook published in 1962. I think I got it from my mother-in-law when I got married. It is Swedish Meatballs, and we're going to make it exactly like the cookbook tells us to. And then our dessert is going to come out of a Betty Crocker cookbook. That's going to be a pineapple upside down cake a little bit later on, in between the music. So let's talk ingredients for our meatballs. It calls for 3 kinds of ground meat. We have ground beef, ground veal, and ground pork. And we're going to add that to some soft breadcrumbs and some light cream. We've got some seasonings, onion, egg, and parsley going into our meatballs. And then once they're browned up, we're going to make a gravy using some beef broth concentrate, some coffee, believe it or not, for flavoring, and a little bit of flour for thickening. I'm really excited about this recipe. I haven't made Swedish meatballs ever, and I'm certainly not familiar with this recipe, so let's discover it together. Here we are going to get started on the Swedish meatballs. First of all, let me tell you about the meat proportions. All of the beef, veal, and pork that I bought were in 1-pound packages. So on the beef, I need 3/4 pound. On the veal, I need 1/2 pound, and on the pork, I need 1/4 pound. So I just use my little kitchen scale to make sure that I have those proportions correct. Just FYI, the veal I was able to find in the frozen food section in the grocery store. The beef and pork were, of course, available fresh. So I was glad about that. So set that aside for a sec. I need to soak my breadcrumbs. Now, these are 1.5 cups of fresh crumbs, soft crumbs they call them in the recipe. And soft crumbs are basically meaning you actually use fresh bread to do that. And I think I've told you before on Paula's Kitchen, I tend to use hamburger buns for those, and then I just use my grater and they come out really nice. So what I need to do is I need some light cream that I picked up at the grocery store. I need 1 cup of that, and I'm going to soak the crumbs for about 5 minutes. All right, 1 cup of the light cream. And I'm going to soak my crumbs. Meanwhile, while we do that, we have to just brown for a few minutes 1/2 cup of onion in a tablespoon of butter. So we're going to get that going as well. This, of course, is your binder in the meatballs. You always put a binder in meatballs. All right, I'm just going to set that aside for 5 minutes. Look at my clock. Okay. And I've got a tablespoon of butter in my little saucepan here. I'm just going to turn this on real quick and melt the butter. And I have just diced 1/2 cup of onion. So I figure by the time I have my onions cooked slightly, my 5 minutes should be up. What does it say about the onions? It says cook onion until just tender, so that won't take too long. Drop those in. Wow, that is a strong onion today. My cameraman has already made comments about the onion smell here in the kitchen, and we haven't even done anything yet. Alrighty, folks, let me get both of these done, and then we'll move on to the next step. Be right back with you. My 5 minutes has gone by, and just as I thought, my onions have sweated and softened. I'll just show you those in the overhead camera. So those are ready to roll, and my breadcrumbs and cream have mushed together. So we are actually going to use the mixer on this, so that's an unusual thing. The other thing they said is for the meats, they said to have the butcher grind them together. Of course, in this world, even if it wasn't for the crazy world we live in right now, we would never have a butcher do that. So I am going to mush them together myself, just with my hands. Took my rings off, so I'm just going to mush them together before I add the other ingredients. And as we go, I will tell you what the herbs and spices are. Anyway, all right, that's enough on the hand mixing, I think. Let me wash my hands. I'll be right back. Let's continue. I'm going to put my onions in first, my softened, sweated onions. They smell lovely now that they're cooked a little bit. Of course, anything cooked in butter smells lovely. I'm going to add my breadcrumbs. Let me just double check my recipe. Yes, definitely, breadcrumbs. Ooh, look how that came out. That's a gooey mess. Alrighty, and then 1 egg. It didn't say to beat it a little bit, but I did, just to make it go in a little better. Usually when I make meatballs, I do beat the egg just with a fork for a minute. All right, now let's talk about the seasonings. First of all, I'm going to need 1/4 cup of fresh parsley chopped, so I'm going to put that in. It smells so fragrant. Love fresh parsley. And then I think this is 1½ teaspoons of salt. Yes. So that goes in. Then I need 1/4 teaspoon of ginger that I measured out a moment ago. Isn't that interesting? Adding ginger to a meatball? I like that idea. And then we need dashes of things. And a while back, Mia gave me this lovely little measuring spoon set in which a dash is one of the metrics. So I need a dash of nutmeg. Oh, that smells lovely. Again, ginger, nutmeg, and a meatball. Okay. And then I need a dash of black pepper as well. So I ground up a little bit of pepper ahead of time, and I'm just going to grab that same amount out of my little cup of pepper. All right, I think that is everything. Let me just double check this recipe one more time. Now, this is where I need to pull out my mixer and get going on mushing all this together for the meatballs. Be right back. I am ready to turn my mixer on and make a nice homogeneous mixture out of this meatball mess, but I don't need you to listen to the mixer. Nobody wants to hear that. I'll tell you what, Dale has such a sad saga to tell you. Take a look, take a listen. I dare you not to cry.
Here's my story, it's sad but true. And all about a girl that I once knew. She took my love, then ran around with every single guy in town. Hey, hey, oh, hey, 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 oh, hey, oh, hum, hey, hey, start. Girl's gonna leave me with a broken heart now. Listen, people, what I'm telling you, you gotta keep away from a runaround Sue. You know, I miss her lips and the smile on her face, touch of her hand and this girl's warm embrace. If you don't wanna cry like I do, you gotta keep away from a runaround Sue. I said, whoa, whoa, she likes to travel around. She'll love you, then she'll put you down. Now people, let me put you wise. Sue goes out with all the other guys. Now the moral of the story from a guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. Ask any fool that she ever knew. They'll say, I keep away from a runaround Sue. You gotta keep away from this girl. I know what she'll do. Keep away from Sue. She likes to travel around, yeah. She'll love you, then she'll put you down. Now people, let me put you wise. Sue goes out with all the other guys. Now the moral of the story from a guy who knows. I fell in love and my love still grows. Ask any fool that she ever knew. They'll say, I keep away from a runaround Sue. You gotta keep away from that girl. I know what she'll do. Keep away from Sue.
Ladies and gentlemen, does that not just fill your heart? That was Dale and the Dale Tones. He did not only the lead singing, but all the background voices as well. Oh my gosh, I have that in my kitchen. How lucky am I? I mixed the meat and flavorings at medium speed for a total of 5 minutes on the mixer. Now we're finally ready to make meatballs. I've laid out some wax paper on my work surface and wet my hands with cold water. Our aim is to roll meatballs that are about 1.5 inches in diameter. I definitely recommend using wet hands. I tried it with dry off camera and the mixture is so sticky it didn't work at all. You could also chill it before handling. Okay, the meatballs are standing by, so I'm ready to melt 2 tablespoons of butter in my big frying pan. When that's melted, I drop in about half the meatballs to brown lightly. As the recipe instructs, I shook the pan several times during cooking to move them around. It took about 10 minutes to brown them. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of time has gone by. I actually made 2 pans full of the Swedish meatballs, and in fact, cameraman Dale came around and actually helped me make some of the meatballs. All right, everything has been pulled out and put onto a plate, and now I've just got my drippings in the pan. I am going to add 2 tablespoons of flour to those drippings and stir that. Pick up all that goodness from the butter and whatever drippings we had from our meats. So stir the flour into the drippings, and then I'm going to add 3/4 cup of this concentrated beef broth that I purchased at the store. So let me measure out 3/4 cup, 3/4 cup, and then I'm going to make up a full cup with just some water. So let me do that. All right, stir that in. And then the piece de resistance, I need to go grab, actually out of the freezer, I need just a little touch of instant coffee and just a little bit of Folgers. And that's it. Alrighty, I just need to stir this until the gravy thickens a little bit, and then we're going to put our meatballs back in. I'm going to grab a lid and we are going to cook this for about 30 minutes, low and slow. And that will be ready to serve. Alrighty, that is thickening up. And I'm actually getting a little bit of bubbling. Let me check my recipe one more time. Heat and stir, return the meatballs. All right, let's do that. Drop these in. Look how many meatballs that recipe made. It's really a lot. And I could see why folks were keen to use it for cocktail parties and get-togethers, because these would feed a crowd. This is a lot of meatballs. All right, I'm just going to cover these up with some of the gravy here, get them all immersed, and I'm going to grab a lid. Moving on to recipe number 2, now that we have our Swedish meatballs underway, we're going to make dessert. And this one is coming from the Betty Crocker Picture Cookbook circa 1961. It was actually sent to us by one of our patrons in Canada, and it's the classic pineapple upside down cake. So what's going to end up on the bottom is going to be pineapple slices, of course, some cherries, some pecans in butter and brown sugar, and then the cake batter is your typical flour, sugar, baking powder, salt, and shortening. Oh, and an egg. So we are going to make this in an 8x8 square pan, so it's not going to be a great big pineapple upside down cake, but it's going to be very pretty because, of course, we're going to arrange all those fruits and nuts in the bottom. Let's get going. I changed quarters. The Swedish meatballs are coming along. They look so delicious and they smell amazing. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm going to serve them over some buttered egg noodles, another staple of the 60s. Dale and I both grew up in the 60s, so these are really reminiscent of things we ate when we were kids. Alrighty, so the pineapple upside down cake, as I said, was suggested by one of our patrons, and I certainly have been eating this my whole life. So first off, I am going to take my pineapple slices and I'm going to just put them on a paper towel to drain them slightly before I use them. I don't know how many I'm going to need, but let me just drain some of that juice off. Pineapple in this house never goes to waste, that's for sure. All right, now, normally you would use maraschino cherries. I could not find them. We have a great big huge grocery store where we live, but I couldn't find them, so I just got some tart cherries. So let me also just set those on the paper towel to drain just some of the water off of them for a little bit. All right, folks, bottom layer, and you don't even need to grease your pan because the bottom layer is going to be 1/3 of a cup of butter, which I just melted in the microwave because that's about the easiest way to do it. So I'll pour my butter in, and then next step is 1/2 cup of firmly packed brown sugar, and we're going to crumble that in among the butter. So like so. So you know, if you watched the most recent episode of Paula's Kitchen, the peach bourbon upside down cake, we did a very similar treatment with the butter and brown sugar. It's kind of the beginning of all upside down cakes. All right, now here's where we get to the design part of things. So let's see what we can do in our 8x8 pan. I'm going to start with my pineapple slices. I can certainly do the 4 of them in the corners, perhaps. Let's see if I can squish one more in here. All right, now throw in a couple cherries in the center there, and you get the idea. And then I'm going to use my pecans to fill in. I love pecans as well. Hardly ever use them for baking, and I just love them. So there's no right and wrong way to do this, obviously. I'll throw one in that corner too. Okay, whoops. There we go. The bottom is ready. So what I'm going to do next is work on my cake batter. So stick with me, be right back. The cake batter is quite simple in terms of ingredients and also preparation. What I've done so far is I've taken 1 1/3 cups of just simple all-purpose flour and I've measured it in a bowl. And then I also am going to throw in 1 cup of sugar into that bowl, and then 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Yes, that's correct. And those are my dry ingredients for the cake. So first thing I'm going to do is just stir those together gently before we move on with the wets. So that is just about ready to roll there. Now, wet ingredients, it calls for 1/3 cup of shortening. And again, we're making these recipes exactly like we would have in the 60s. I'm not sure if in 2021 I would use shortening in a cake. I would likely use butter, but we're doing it the way the cookbook says. So shortening it is. Crisco, 1/3 cup. So I'm going to toss that in. And the other wet ingredients are 2/3 cup of milk, which I've measured out here, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. As we tell you, we have no secrets in Paula's kitchen. Somewhere in the move, I lost my 1 teaspoon measure, so I have to just do 2 halves. I have searched in every drawer and every cupboard. Perhaps it got thrown away. I don't know. But anyway, I'll have to go buy a set sometime. But meanwhile, there's my teaspoon of vanilla. Now, next up is the dreaded mixer, but I'm not going to subject you to that. I'm going to turn the camera around and let's see if we can entice Dale to sing another beautiful song made famous by Ben E. King back in 1961.
There is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a rare rose up in Spanish Harlem. It is a special one that never sees the sun and only comes out when the moon is on the run and all the stars are gleaming. I'm gonna pick that rose and watch her as she grows in my garden. There is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a rare rose up in Spanish Harlem. Eyes as black as coal that look down in my soul and start a fire there, and then I lose control. I have to beg your pardon. I'm gonna pick that rose and watch her as she grows in my garden. As black as coal that look down in my soul and start a fire there, and then I lose control. I have to beg your pardon. I'm gonna pick that rose and watch her as she grows in my garden. I'm gonna pick that rose and watch her as she grows in my garden. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Moment of truth. That song absolutely makes me melt. Anything that even has the slightest bit of a Latin feel to it, those are my favorites. I just love that, and I never ever take for granted that I get to listen to that voice at home anytime I want to. Hope you like that. All right, back to it. It was 2 minutes of beating the dry ingredients, the wet ingredients, minus the egg. I added the egg, and it was 2 minutes more, and we are ready now to pour this over top of the cake. Or I should say, over top of our arrangement of fruits and nuts. Let me pour this towards you so you could see it. You want to be gentle with this so you don't dislodge anything. This is really a lovely batter. All right, spread that gently flat, and I have preheated my oven to 350, so this is going to go in for 40 to 50 minutes. That's a long spread. I'll start checking it at 40. And meanwhile, I'm going to make my accompaniment for dinner because those meatballs have been on the stove for 30 minutes and they are done. All right, next up, I'm throwing this in the oven. And in the oven it goes, 350 for 40 to 50 minutes. This is quite a warm oven. I'm gonna check it at 40. Ladies and gentlemen, I just took the cake out of the oven. You can see it's a beautiful golden brown color. And the first thing I need to do is invert it onto a cake plate immediately. So let's do that. And the instructions say to let it sit for a few minutes before I actually peel that off. So I'm just gonna set that plate aside, and we are going to set up to sample our meatballs. This is another one of those dinners that we have earned, did we not? Give me a fist bump, Mr. Dale.
This was another all-day affair.
And that doesn't count all the time we put into recording the two songs, which we actually recorded on Memorial Weekend.
Yeah, and there's two more to go. I hope you liked them.
How could you not like them? They're wonderful.
Well, we have Swedish meatballs here, and I'm starving.
He is, poor guy. And let me just mention, Jell-O molds, as I said, are very iconic for the 60s. So I made one that I probably would never have made if I wasn't doing this cooking show. It's called the Springtime Calico mold. It's made with lime Jell-O, cheddar cheese, radishes, cucumbers. It's very unique and unusual. It's not a dessert gelatin.
I guess I'm going to cut a little bit of that off then and put that on my plate. Look at that. It is full of stuff.
It's full of stuff. And of course, as you could see in the big reveal, the pineapple upside down cake looks great. So we'll be finishing our meal with that. And in true Mad Men fashion, we have to have a little highball. And this is Hendrick's.
Oh, I thought it was water.
Fever Tree Tonic. And isn't that refreshing after the day we've had? All right, Mr. Dale,
I'm sorry,
you earned it. Please
but I have got to give this a shot.
Swedish meatballs. I'm going to eat one till you do. Tell me what you think.
Wow, are those tender? Oh, that gravy or sauce or
it's gravy.
Gravy. Yeah. Wow, is that good?
Let me try one. It's been
Oh.
driving me nuts all day.
Oh, that is really, really good.
Classic Swedish meatball flair. IKEA could not have done this better. Are they good?
Oh yeah,
They're really good.
They are really
Wow. And buttered noodles is just a perfect accompaniment because the gravy is so rich and delicious. Maybe it's that little hint of coffee, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I gotta try another one of those and just see if I can taste that.
Wow. And we'll try with a little calico mold as well.
Yeah, I'm true.
I made this yesterday. I'll put the recipe in the description box in case you want to try it. But because it was a Jell-O mold, I thought it would be easier to just make it.
It is full of stuff. Is it not?
It's super summery fresh, isn't it?
It is.
It's actually really good.
I've never had Jell-O
With vegetables in it.
Yeah, or
That's a
cheese. Never had it with cheese.
I'm a fan. It's good. Wow. I
Very
don't know
good.
if it was worth all the work and the stopped up sink and whatnot, but I'll tell you what, I'm with Dale. I am hungry.
I think what we should do is let us finish our dinner. I'll cut the cameras off and then we'll come back and when we're ready, we'll cut the cake.
We sure will.
Sounds like a good idea, right? Let's do it.
Good meatballs.
As you can see, we devoured those meatballs.
Not only that, Dale went around to the stove and ate some more out of the pan.
I tell you, that sauce is amazing.
It is. I've never made that before, but boy, that was rich, flavorful. We can't even wait for leftovers.
So, we are on to the dessert part of the dinner.
We sure are. It is going to be warm pineapple upside down cake. So let me just cut into this.
Just a small one.
I know, we're just sampling. See
Is this
what
for
we
me?
do. Yeah, that'll be yours. Wow.
Wow, I don't know if you
Brown,
can see that.
sugary
Boy, it is
goodness.
just beautiful.
It is. Yum. And I'm going to grab a piece as well. You didn't get a pecan. Have a pecan.
I didn't get cherry either.
You didn't get a cherry
No.
either. Oh, no.
Yeah.
So clearly, you guys, this is still very, very warm from the oven. Huh.
That's all right. No, we're okay. We're okay. All right. I'm gonna go in for it.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry. What? Oh.
Invented in 1948, distributed across the country in 1954, so your home in the 1960s would have had some Ready Whip. And it says you are to serve the cake with Ready Whip.
Really?
Or with whipped cream. This is real cream, so it's the closest
Now,
we're gonna get.
my mother used to make her own whipped cream.
Oh yeah, from scratch?
Yeah.
But this is actually made with real cream, so it's a very cool, available
very
in the
good.
60s substitute.
Uh-oh. I'll tell you what. This is really groovy, man.
Well, that's a little later in the 60s. I'm
Oh.
not sure it was groovy in 1961. Maybe we'll have to do flower power later on, huh?
I'll show you a picture of me with long hair.
Yeah. That would fit right in with
It
this
would.
particular topic, wouldn't it?
This is terrific. Just terrific. I hope it's coming through on that
And
camera.
honestly, the perfect serving temperature. It's probably been out of the oven 20 minutes, half
Yeah.
hour.
It's a little bit
Ideal.
warm, but just
warm
perfect.
and perfect with the whipped cream. I just had a pecan. Big fan. Yum.
Wow. Okay. That is terrific.
That is Paula's Retro Kitchen, early 60s edition with music.
Yeah, I hope you like this one. We really worked hard on this
We
to
did.
try to make this real good. And yeah, there's a lot of backstory issues, especially with the songs and the rights and all that stuff that you have to deal with. So I hope you really enjoyed this. And if you did, I think we're going to try to do this more often.
We sure are. Like we said, we have 2 more 60s songs in the can and lots more recipes. So look for another retro episode in the future.
And honestly, 60s music isn't necessarily my thing. you know, that's not what I was about. But since we were doing the 60s, we did 60s music. We could do jazz, or we could do country, or just Broadway. We could do just about anything and put a dinner to it, could we not?
We absolutely could, and probably will.
All right. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button. Anything else, Paula?
Oh, I think we've done the gamut today. We've done food and music out of the kitchen, and what else could you ask for?
Not from me, anything.
We will see you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us in Paula's Kitchen.
Hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.